Here's a highlight from a recent episode of Booked on Rock. Gene Popa is the author of The Color of Your Dreams, Some Days in the Lives of the Beatles. The next song from Sgt. Pepper's that you cover in the book is one of the most iconic of all Beatles songs, A Day in the Life. Initially titled In the Life of, the inspiration begins when John is reading London's Daily Mail. This stirred up some emotions within him. What was the story he was reading, and what were the other things that he drew on to help complete the song's lyrics?
Tara Brown was the heir to the Guinness fortune, and he was a very good friend of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and moved in their circles. Matter of fact, the first time Paul McCartney took LSD, he took it with Tara Brown. And Tara, unfortunately, in late 66, was killed in an auto accident. He swerved to avoid a truck that had gotten into his lane. He was killed. His passenger, his girlfriend, survived. And John was very distraught over his death. You know, John was still a young man, and he hadn't seen that much death other than his mother and a few other people, as is not uncommon. But they have a close friend like that die so tragically. It stayed with him. And the papers were full of ongoing stories about the inquest and the autopsy and the funeral. The Beatles wanted to go to the funeral, but they knew it would turn into a media circus if they did, so they stayed home. And John was reading this article about the latest developments and what was happening with his estate. And it just inspired him to do a song that was more slice of life, not just the story of his dead friend, but he wanted to make it sort of a recorded version of a newspaper, to have various different stories pop up in the narrative of the song. So he just literally started flipping through the newspaper and picking random stories and said, okay, I'm going to write about this now.
And when they recorded the basic track, they left a 24-bar break between the end of John's first segment and the start of Paul's interlude. And they didn't know right away what they wanted to do there and what they wanted to put in there. Several weeks go by. Then the idea comes up for an orchestra interlude, but it wasn't an actual orchestra.
Well, it wasn't a full orchestra. The Beatles originally wanted a full 90-piece orchestra. And George Martin, who was always keeping an eye on the budget, said, you know, how about we just get 40 pieces and I record them twice? And they thought, well, that'll work. That'll be fine. And it was Paul who came up with the idea of, let's have each instrument go from its lowest to highest notes, but get there in their own time, in their own pace, however the musician wants to do it, to create this cacophony that is technically music, obviously, but it's also apocalyptic. It's like something deep within the recesses of your mind. And when the Beatles originally created that empty space in the song, they had no idea what they were going to put in there. They figured at some point they'll think of something. And whoever had the original idea of having an orchestra, kudos to them, because that was it.